What's something that poor people do better than rich people? When I was 10, I used to think being rich meant everything was better. Your clothes, your food, your holidays, your happiness. Back then, we lived in a cramped two-bedroom apartment above a pawn shop that smelled like metal and regret. My mom worked double shifts as a waitress, and my dad, when he was around, picked up random gigs fixing things. Money wasn't just tight, it was nearly non-existent. Still, I never really felt poor until I started going to a new school in 6th grade, a place full of kids whose backpacks cost more than our monthly groceries. There was this one girl, Madeline. Her family had one of those mansions with a fountain in the driveway and a kitchen bigger than our whole apartment. She brought perfectly cut fruit in eco-friendly glass containers and wore new clothes every week, never the same outfit twice. I remember one lunch period where I traded half my peanut butter sandwich for her extra apple slices, and she wrinkled her nose like I'd offered her poison. But this story isn't about her. It's about what I learned watching families like hers, and how starkly different they were from mine. You see, growing up with less teaches you things no prep school or investment portfolio ever can. For starters, resourcefulness. I've watched my mom make dinner out of practically nothing: a sad can of beans, half an onion, a handful of rice, and still somehow it tasted like love. My rich friend's mom once tossed out a perfectly good lasagna because it was a day old. In our house, leftovers were the treasure chest in the fridge, and then there's community. We didn't have babysitters, we had neighbors. If my mom had to work late, Mrs. Gomez down the hall would keep an eye on me and slip me warm tortillas. If someone's electricity got cut, we'd string an extension cord from another apartment or all gather in one room lit by candles and tell stories. We didn't isolate, we huddled. Rich people had fences and alarm systems. We had unlocked doors and shared emergency cash stashed in a tin behind the cereal box. One winter, our heater broke, and we didn't have money to fix it. For 3 nights, my mom piled every blanket we had onto our beds and heated water on the stove so we could wash our faces without freezing. I later told a friend at school, one of the richer kids, and he looked horrified, as if I had confessed to bathing in sewage. "Why didn't you just call someone?" he asked. I laughed. We did. It just wasn't someone in a uniform. It was my aunt, who came by with a space heater and some soup. There's a kind of emotional toughness poor people build without realizing it. You learn to smile through stress, to laugh even when the fridge is empty. You learn the art of making do, of finding joy in tiny things, like the time we turned a power outage into a living room campout. I know rich families who go on week-long luxury vacations and still look miserable in every photo. Meanwhile, we once turned a single bucket of fried chicken into a picnic in the park that felt like a 5-star meal. Another thing? Gratitude. You don't take things for granted when nothing comes easy. When I finally got a job that paid enough to cover rent and groceries in the same week, I cried in the break room. My boss, wealthy, polished, and distant, thought something was wrong, but nothing was wrong. Everything was finally right. Because when you've gone without, even the smallest win feels like a miracle. I'm not saying all poor people are saints, or that all rich people are shallow. That's not the point. But when you grow up poor, you're forced to pay attention to things rich people rarely notice: the value of time, of people, of trust, of kindness that isn't bought or expected. 1. Christmas, we couldn't afford presents. So my mom wrote little notes for me and my brother. Handwritten wishes, memories, promises for future hugs and pancakes. I still have mine. Folded and yellowing, tucked into a shoebox like it's treasure. And you know what? It is. So what do poor people do better than rich people? We love harder. We laugh louder. We fight smarter. And most importantly, we survive. Not in spite of the struggle, but because of it.